Moscow, 1946, when and where it all began. On a bandy rink, its foot-high boards moved to the middle, the first public hockey game ever played in the Soviet Union. It was a curious sight. The long-bladed antique sticks and skates, their helmets like those worn by Red Barons of another time. But look closer at their skating strides and puck-handling skills. These are no mere novices, as anyone who's ever strapped on skates for the first time knows. These one-time bandy players have played this game before. A year later, a team from Czechoslovakia, world champions the year before, came to Moscow. For the Soviets, a new style of play was at stake. The key figure was Anatoly Tarasov, then player-coach of the Soviet team, part Vince Lombardi, part guru, father of Soviet hockey. He had been told to go abroad, to study the most, so he stayed. He said once that to copy someone else is always to be second best. Against the Czechs, the Soviets lost one, tied one, and won the other. It was the turning point. Stockholm, 1954, the first appearance by the Soviets at the World Championships. Incredibly, less than 8 years after they had taken up the sport, they beat Canada 7-2 and won the World Championships. They won an Olympic gold medal 2 years later in Cortina, then didn't win again until 1963. But permanent change was coming. In 1960, at Squaw Valley, as the U.S. players celebrated their glorious victory, the Soviets were about to leave the amateur world behind. How did they do it so fast? They had no indoor arenas. Their season awaited the winter cold and melted away in the spring. There was so little time and so much to do, so they worked harder and longer.
You don't need ice.
For the next generation of Soviet player, there was only victory. 9 world championships and 2 Olympic gold medals. But there was one more thing that remained. Team Canada, the best we had to offer, the Montreal Forum, the final breakthrough. 2 games, amateur and professional, 2 styles of play running in parallel for decades, facing off at the summit. We thought it would be a runaway. Instead, we could feel something fundamental slowly being ripped away. It was their speed, relentless and dizzying, their one-touch passing, their whirling filigree patterns. And for the rest of the decade, the Soviets' domination only continued. But in 1980, the Soviets stumbled. A team that had reached its peak in the Challenge Cup against the NHL in 1979 was 1 year too old, too fat with winning, too afraid of losing, too celebrated to change over and replace. 1984. The names are Fetisov, Krutov, and Tretiak. The team is younger, stronger, faster, more skilled. World champions in 1981, 82, and 83. This is Coach Viktor Tikhonov's team, the new